Are you guys stuck in the past, or have you forgotten the past?
This is your first day in real estate, and I am your real estate sales trainer and coach, James Festini. And this is the program that's going to teach you how to sell more real estate in less time.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for coming back again and again to hear the words that I speak. I appreciate it. First of all, as you know, I have a $50 a month coaching program. It is the Festini Mafia. There's nothing like it. Every day of the week, Monday through Friday, you get delivered an exclusive video. None like anything I put on the internet. It is all pure training. Please join that at jamesfestini.com/training. And I do one-on-one coaching. Now let's get to the point. Guys and gals, I stumbled on a stack of papers, and I'm going to share these two visuals with you today about something that I awakened to recently. And I want to tell two, analogies or stories or comparisons. Remember a time in your life when you were physically fit, athletic and strong and light and just full of life? What was different? What was different then that is now? Could we say metabolism? Could we say old age, slowing down, stress, no time? Did something really change? Yeah, you got older, but I can go on Instagram right now and show you anybody your age with more disabilities than you, probably, and prove to you that you're full of crap, because I do it all the time to remind myself I'm full of crap. So over the past, 3 years, when I came into this town in 2016, for those of you guys that don't know the history, I started in 1993, purely telemarketing. I came in under my parents. My parents were a buyer's agent and my mom was a selling agent, kind of. And I came in purely as a telemarketer, and within a year of working under them, I broke off on my own, moved to a different place, and continued my telemarketing efforts. So all I left them, their team with, was a stack of motivational tapes and their love and blessing. We always had a great relationship that way. But from 1993 to 2000, I'd say 1993, 1995, 96, 97, I was bumping all over the place. I was making, probably about 100,000 a year. It's, because I'd be calling you, but I didn't know what I was doing, but because of the amount of calls, I was succeeding. So 100 G's was still solid, right? Especially, for the first 4 or 5 years. And then in 1996, 7, 8, I started coming into my rhythm. I started understanding. I went through one divorce, found another girl, moved around. From 1993 to 2000, I probably moved 6 or 7 times. And I'm not talking down the street. I'm talking like completely different, either zip codes, area codes, or counties. It was quite a bit of moves during the divorce and marriage stage. I wanted to be a beach bum for a while, so I bounced over there. I was always doing real estate. It was just I was never a man, right? I was always just this child, but as long as I did the calls, it would work. And I would go into the office knowing that I wouldn't have to worry about it as long as I did the calls. My confidence and my lack of stress at that time was because I knew if I did the calls, it would all work out. Then came 2003, 2000, 2001, 2003, I started winning awards or getting accolades from my company, where I would start getting like agent of the month or listing agent of the month. It finally took a couple of years before I was actually like beating people, right, and making waves in the real estate game. 2003, I moved to a whole new territory one more time. I got married for the last time to Nicole, my current wife now. And that was 2003. So my best years in real estate ever, 2003, 4, 5, 6, and maybe 7. Those 5 years, I was earning $300,000 to $550,000 a year in my pocket. I'm not talking about like, this is what I walk into the tax guy and I say, here's my tax return, here's my tax returns, what can I do? And he's like, aye, right? This isn't like, so I started looking at something, well, it looked at me. During that time, I look at what is different now. I forgot to finish the story. 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Kicking butt. What changed in 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? What changed? Well, the market took a big dump, but that didn't really affect my production because I became an REO king. I was still doing 250, 300,000. But in 2003, I reinvented myself now to be a brand, to be more of an agent of the community and start, networking and sponsoring and just being more recognized in the society that I work, becoming a pillar of society. And then what happened? The market crash came. Let me fix that mic. The market crash came, and during that time, I suffered. I had to sell off everything I owned. By 2012, I was again like the king of the bottom. It was really bad because I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. I was making 20, 30 grand a month, but I was spending 20, 30 grand a month in keeping REOs functioning and it was just, when they talk about 2012 being the end of the world, they were talking about my end of my world. It was bad. It was so bad. And at that time, 2012, I said, enough is enough. I've got to do something. So I went out and door knocked. And in my first 10 doors, I got a listing. And then I never looked back, right? I recovered, the market recovered, I recovered. 2012, 13, 14, 15. I'm now crossing back, I never went below $170,000. Even the worst years, it was still 150, 170. Which was survival, right? Still survival. But 2013, 14, 15, 16, right around 14, 15, 16, I started seeing the demographic change in my previous territory. Now, mind you, I was the #1 agent in this territory. No one could touch me. Every resident, you couldn't go anywhere without knowing who James Festini was. In 2016, though, I left it all to come to where I am now in the city of Yorba Linda, California. I wanted to get better education for my kids. The school systems were going down, and I wanted to go out and get increase my pay grade. I was a shark in a fish tank full of guppies over there, right? I show up in a suit, and that was half the battle. Here, everyone's suited up, everyone's professional. So I wanted to up my game, and so I wanted to prove once and for all that my system worked. Well, here we are 3.5 years later. It'll be 4 years in March. Everything that I expected should happen has not happened. I'm still surviving. I'm still clocking probably, about 200 last year. Every year still comes around 200,000. Not what I expected. I wanted to clock 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is what I came here for. I came here to kick butt. Not to just I'm doing good. I'm not dying, but it just sucks. It's a different kind of suck. I came from a place where I was doing, 10 transactions a month to now doing 2 to 3. Why? Well, because my price point doubled. So if my price point doubled, then why wouldn't my production be cut in half and still be making the same amount? My outgo, though, in this community has maintained its same altitude as how much I have to spend. So what is the difference? What am I suffering against? What am I struggling against so much? And then it came to me. In the mobile command center, I opened up a little drawer and I found these. This is a small pinch for the video crowd. A small pinch of papers that in I would say sometime around 2000 I started collecting these pieces of paper. And what it was is I took the theory of day runner, a to-do list, and I compressed it into one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And with this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, what I did was I sliced it into 3 to 4 areas. Again, visual crowd's gonna have to see it. Audio crowd's gonna just have to imagine. So imagine I broke out down 7 days of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I did this all in PowerPoint, line by line, grid by grid, printing, testing. And so page 1, the first column was strictly Monday. All the way from top to bottom was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this top section is the to-do. Halfway into the center was the week calendar. So it was 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I believe at this time, 6 a.m. So I had these tiny little numbers in there. And then at the bottom section, I had the next 3 weeks. So I basically had the entirety of a to-do list, this week's calendar from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the next 3 weeks. At the very bottom, I had a place for notes. I would mark at the corner the date of what was going to happen. And then what I would do with this was the day runner part. I would fold this thing, into small pieces, and I would carry it in my pocket. And so the visual crowd, again, you can see I'm writing all over this thing. By the end of the week, I would carry this thing in my pocket for a whole week. Just throw it in there. I would lose it. My to-do list. If I lose it, I threw it out, whatever it was. Now remember, this is 2003. I'm looking at a sheet of paper right now from 2003. So put yourself back to 2003. Now we're going to go into time machine, and this is where I'm going to get my mind blown. I open this up and I'm like, wow, 2003. That was just before I left to Lake Elsinore. This is 17, 16 years ago I had these things, and I just found this little stack. I've got probably about 100 of these, maybe more in other places. I just found this one random stack of 2003. I don't know why. March September, I should put them in order. October, September 2003, October 2000, just like the whole summer of 2003, pretty much now, 17, 16 years ago. I guess now as I'm even saying this, it's like I'm having this real religion struggle trying to find out whether or not there is a God. I've always wondered, right? But just too many coincidences, and it's the universe always protects me, right? And finding this was such an awakening. Why? So let's go back in time, 2003, before the internet, before social media, before sharing. So there was no metric where I would be like, hey guys, here's how much I did today, bragging, anything. There was nothing. It was just me and this piece of paper, no social media, right? And yet listen to these numbers. I'm going to go to these numbers through the street. And what I would do, again, there was one more block at the bottom where I would write my numbers of calls. And this is the point of the video. I'm getting to the point. I'm going to fast forward to this page, January 2003. This is one of the pages. I got appointments, like 3 appointments a week. Look at this. Look at this. On my left ear. Now I was using different technology. This was before Mojo. I was using the Gemini 2000. So I was technically using 6. This year was the year that I trenched 12 lines into my home office when I moved. Remember, I was, $400,000 or $500,000. I could do whatever, man. I was king of the world. So I had to go, when I moved into my new house, you get to a house and they only have 2 phone lines. Well, I had technology that required like 2 phone lines per dialer, and I had 6 of those dialer boxes, which I still have in my office, just sitting there. They're archaic technology now, but each line required 2. So I had to trench 10 more telephone lines, meaning I had to call Verizon and say, I need you to dig a trench, steal some lines from my neighbor. I need 12 phone lines. And they're like, sir, that's going to cost now. I don't give a crap. I need 12 phone lines in my house. So now, remember, think about this, 2003. So here we go. My left ear, 397 contacts. Are you hearing this? My left ear, my right ear, 385 contacts. Are you blowing your mind with a total? Look, I'm going to show it to you just so you don't think I'm crazy. Where is this? Hopefully it renders. Why do I need to show this proof here? Because it's just too incredible to believe. 782 contacts in one day. Wednesday, 700. Thursday, 688. Let's jump a few pages. Sometimes I didn't use this thing. Sometimes I was using it religiously. So I'm bouncing around. Sometimes they're empty pages. Empty page. Okay. Here's another day. Probably a more typical day. Left ear 179, right ear 409. 588 calls in one day. These are not outbound dials. These are not 588 dials. These are spoken to. I've never counted dials. Here's another one, 61. That looks like it's in my wife's writing. To be honest. 240 one day. Why am I so wonky with some of these? I didn't keep track. Yeah, so I've got to frame this January 2003. Let's just stick to this 2003. So I started thinking, 700 calls. That's obviously, those are freakish numbers. But is it? Is it enough? For some of you, I ran a half marathon last week. And I thought I did pretty darn good. I didn't train as hard as I wanted to, but I thought I did pretty darn good. Here's my medal for the visual crowd. I did 13.1 miles in 3 hours and 10 minutes, 53 seconds. And if I didn't stop at the bathroom, it would have been 3:05, but which would have been about 14-minute miles. When I looked at that, I'm like, I did pretty good. And then I went to the website to find out my official time, and it goes, hey, do you want to see your previous times? Because we keep those too. 2:50, 2:45. I suck. I'm throwing this for the audio crowd. I'm throwing this medal over there. I'm throwing it out because I still earned it. By the way, when you see 700, you've got to remember, January 2003 was the beginning of the do not call list. So at that point, there was still no do not call list. It was fresh. Numbers were still available, right? There was definitely no technology. There was definitely no swipe left. So the pickup rates, I have a recording of my voice recording some of my calls from 2003. And I would guesstimate the pickup rate was at least 50%, meaning at least 50%. Nobody really had cell phones. It was all landlines. So imagine the beauty of all of this possibility. So what changed in 2007, 8, 9? Why, since then, have I just kind of been less than greatness, right? Why have I come back into this new area doing what I thought I used to do,
only to find out that I am not doing what I used to do. Therein lies the answer to the question as to why. Even my wife the other day goes, honey, what's with this town? We should be doing way more. Look at all the work you're doing. So I looked at 3 factors. I'm going to identify 3 factors today that's going to hopefully change your business immediately. It's effectively changing my business as I speak now because I understood something. 1, the turnover in the town that I live in is ridiculously low. There's not enough homes for sale, and nobody owns more than 2 to 3% market share, being here all their lives. So to come in and dominate, even knocking on doors, even calling, even if I had 5% market share, it would not match the goals of what my expectations are based on my workload. See, I'm used to turning over inventory. I can't focus. I can't afford to focus on the big boy $1 million listing as I intended for one to pop off. Here's one of the things is the turnover, the factors, the formula. I looked at the MLS and I realized my average price range in this community is like $1 million. And guess what? Guess what is the majority of the expireds over the last 6 months? Everything over $1 million. So I've come to a conclusion that I've been knocking on doors of homes that probably won't sell, even if I could get them to sell. Wow, I've been spinning my wheels. And I've got a fantastic database. Ooh, did I get my name out? I'm now, recognized. People know me here. I go to doors and people are like, Festi. I got the automation, but I'm not getting the results. Why? Because they don't exist. I am going to appointments and I'm missing some. Some of them decide not to sell. They're staying. I've got probably 30 people who are saying maybe still. I've got like 250 people who are still saying meh, meh, meh. So I've got that bucket. But I want to get to realizing the second factor. I'm not making enough calls. Under no delusion using my script should I expect in an era now that 2007, what changed? Swipe left, caller ID, call blocking, robocalling, all of that has shanked my pickup rate. So in an era where I was doing 700 on a fluke day, right? Let's say it was 300. Let's say it was 300. I have to do 300 now. I have to say 300 is the minimum amount of calls. That is the realization that I'm not doing enough calls. And the last realization is that I need to go into an area that is a higher turnover. Not that I'm leaving the area that I'm at, not that I'm moving or anything. I've just got to take my database and I've got to move it into an area that pays more. If I look, like I've been, not that I'm reloading a new territory. This territory has been there. Here's the funny thing. Going back, let's go back to 1996, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Before I moved to another county and became the #1 agent in that county, but I was still doing good. What cities fed me? What cities fed me? Because I was calling a great region, a large region, because I was dialing a lot of people. In these amounts of calls, the tremendous amount of outbound telephone prospecting, what cities were feeding me? And then I come here in 2003, come back to this region that I had left in 2003, and I look and I'm calling pretty similar territories. Before I was more towards the beach, now I'm more inland, but it's still, I'm crossing over in 1 or 2 cities that have remained the same. And I look now this year and I say, what cities have fed me since I got here? What cities have resulted in me using my script, picking up the phone, getting a lead and getting a listing rather quickly? And the answer remained the same. So now I was like, okay, switching cities, focused on the turnover, not abandoning my efforts, but door knocking is probably not going to happen for a long time, even though I do get tremendous amounts of leads from door knocking. Every 30 minutes I get a lead. I will not abandon door knocking in 3 regions. There are 3 regions where I will consider my farms, and I will rotate these 3 regions of 1,000 or so homes, and I will door knock them twice a year. I'm not going to neglect door knocking because these 3 regions have paid me here. And I've gotten results from these 3 regions, and lo and behold, they are regions that are about 800,000, and they are in my sphere of intense interest, aka in my city, that are under $1 million. So I've got this whole new structure, this whole new operation, modus operandus operating procedure, that now I'm reaching out to you guys. Has any of this made sense? Has any of this been what you have been doing? Have you been shooting? Have you been aiming at the moon and hitting a rock instead of aiming at an eagle and hitting a duck? You ever heard that phrase where they say it's better to aim for the moon and hit an eagle than it is to aim at an eagle and hit a rock? Right? I've been aiming at the moon, and it's been going right to the rock. And an eagle, I've been aiming at an eagle because the moon's out of reach, man. An eagle's still out of reach, but it's still realistic. I'm still going to keep the eagle. This area is the eagle. But now I'm fine with hitting a low-flying duck and maybe hitting the rock, but I'm not convinced that's the outcome. I'm convinced that once I step my calls and contact rate up to 300 people a day, I mean, that's, guys, this is going to be a side effect. My body and my hips, I'm going to have to start training, getting up early and exercising like mad. Like mad. Because it is so extremely unhealthy at my age to sit on my butt telephone prospecting from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. I think I clocked in Mojo yesterday, showed like 10 and a half hours, right? But I was focused on doing follow-up calls. So that was another thing. Again, okay, so I guess there's a fourth one. Follow-up calls. One of the factors that I was using in 2003 was I was using these automated machines, but as soon as these automated machines got me the lead, I didn't leave them in the automation. I moved them into Top Producer, which was my CRM of choice back then. I'm not endorsing Top Producer now. I'm strictly a Mojo guy. But by putting them in Top Producer and separating them and saying, okay, here are my follow-ups, I was more religious with my follow-ups, and my follow-ups would pick up the phone and answer, and I would set an appointment. I was doing letters, I was doing follow-ups, I was closing, right? So that factor also has to play in follow-ups. I'm not telling anybody anything new with this follow-up. Follow-up, the fortune is in the follow-up. But we're living in a society where people swipe left and ghost like mad, right? You'll get a lead last week that says, yeah, actually, I am kind of thinking about it. I'm busy right now. Call me next week. You'll call them next week. They'll pick up the phone and be like, no, I didn't say that. And they hang up. Like, what? Or they say, call them next week, and they never answer again. But you got their email address, so you send them a video email. You got their mailing address, so you send them a letter. You show up at their door and you knock, and they're not home. They're just... It's like the vanishing, I did a video a couple months ago, the disappearing lead phenomenon. And this so is the case, my friends. Follow up. Focus on my territory. Focus on my follow-up. Just adjustments, a couple of little adjustments here. And again, I guess I'm going to ask in conclusion, my friends, is this what you've been doing? Have you been misleading? Have you been living in the past? Just like that marathon. I thought I was doing good. Just like being here. I thought I was doing good. No, not even that I thought I was doing good. I thought I was doing what I was doing. I thought I was doing what I was doing in the past. Meaning, my marathon, I was pushing myself to the limits of what felt my limits were, and I said, wow, I must be doing pretty good because my limits feel like I'm hitting my upper limits. And then I clock in and realize, no, it's not. It's not good enough. That's why when you go out and do weight training or push-ups, let's say you do push-ups, you do 10 push-ups today, and tomorrow you do 10. Is that good enough? If that's your goal, then that's so be it. But if once upon a time you do 11, can you ever look back at 10? No. What if you do 20? Can you ever do 10 again? No. Now that I see that I was doing once upon a time 700 contacts, can I ever do 700 contacts? No, that's crazy. I think I pulled off like 300 inside of Mojo. Who knows? Maybe I could try it today. I've done that many, but it doesn't come at a cost. It doesn't come without a cost, and that cost is my physical health. So I've got to be very protective. If I am going to sit on the phones for this long and I'm going to try to venture into the zone of, I think 100 is no longer a minimum. That was where I always explained to everybody that I was talking to and teaching and preaching 100, 100, 100. When I look at these pieces of paper, 100 was my minimum. 100 was like, get in, you're very busy. No, 100. My running minimum was this threshold of pain. My push-up minimum, my sit-up minimum. What are your minimums? And have you been in long enough to recollect your previous minimums? And are they what they once upon a time were, or are you kidding yourself? I've been fooling myself, my friends. I've been kidding myself, and I'm apologizing to myself, not to you. I have to continue to prove myself and prove my systems as effective, but it's going to be under this very different attitude. On a final note, I just recalled in 2003, 4, I think it was 2004, 5, or 6, I went to a Mike Ferry retreat. That was right when I had coaching with Mike Ferry. It lasted about a month. There's a story behind it. It lasted about a month. And the coach, I told him, I said, hey, here's what my numbers are and here's what I'm doing. He said, wow, you're top agent, man. You keep it up, you're going to be up on the panel. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah. And then he found out how many calls I was making. He's like, what? No way. That's just ridiculous. Something must be wrong. I'm like, no, that's the reality of how I operate. And again, that coaching sessions never really lasted, but it was funny to see, again, all of these little like flashes of memory as to what worked once upon a time. Why doesn't it work now? Because I'm not using the same formula, right? It's like mixing the formula for your mother's cooking that you remember, right? My mom used to make the best manicotti. I remember that. I never got the recipe. Could I do it again? No, I never got the recipe. Fortunately, I have the recipe for my success in previous times. I can remember now what was wrong. What was the missing element? The missing element is way more calls. Way more calls.
People ask me all the time, where do I get my data? How do I have so many good numbers without spending an arm and a leg? Because I recommend you get it from 3 places, and I merge them to create the ultimate white pages. 2 of them are Cole Realty Resources and telephonelist.biz. They will provide you names, addresses, phone numbers, along with email addresses scrubbed against the do not call list, available for both US and Canada. Now, you know I do a lot of door knocking, and my favorite app to use is Realty Buddy, a GPS tracking software with robust goal setting and follow-up campaigns. Realty Buddy takes care of the hassle, and Realty Buddy is the success to my door knocking. It's only available on iOS though, so sorry Android, but I will recommend Knockwise. They're really good too. Now, have you seen my amazing local market videos for my real estate business? In one word, Terradatum. They make videos branded to your brokerage and automatically update them every month with videos by zip code, county, city, and your hyper-local market, and it's extremely affordable. Have you guys seen my website lately? Well, you should. It's absolutely gorgeous. I owe it all to Zentap. They will help you with your advertising using your MLS, IDX, and social media to attract an audience and engage your leads using sophisticated bots. Now, you're gonna need a powerful CRM to manage all of this, and as you know, Mojo Selling Solutions is more than just a dialer. It's the most powerful CRM bar none. Mojo provides you expireds for sell by owners, and that is the 3rd list of data, along with email and mail campaigns. For more information on any of these products, along with my personal coaching and training products, go to jamesfestini.com today. Or just show financial support at any amount on patreon.com/James Festini. Now, get back to work.